Wall's big enough to see from half a day's ride out, griffins doing lazy circles overhead. The guards at the gate wearing green and gold standing there looking important. They clock us for about 2 seconds, decide we're not an invading horde, and wave us through. And then you're inside, and it's everything at once. Wide boulevards, dedicated lanes, street signs at every intersection. The Scrivener's Guild at work, apparently. The kind of infrastructure that takes generations to build, and a very specific kind of civic pride to maintain. So many voices, so many stories happening all at once. A merchant haggling over silk, a child laughing, someone singing in a language I don't recognize. The air smells like spices and salt and possibility. Welcome to Waterdeep. They call this the Crown of the North, the most civilized city on the Sword Coast. We'll see about that. And welcome to our first episode of Alonesy, a thing that I am trying, something new on this channel, where I play TTRPGs solo. Yes, I will split my personality and be the GM, and my 3 players, and, well, for now, everything's up in the air. We can be more than that, who knows, or less. Let's see. From here, by a flickering candle, littered with half-drained tankards of shadow dark ale. You were supposed to meet an acquaintance, Volo, here an hour ago. He has requested your help, but the boisterous tavern is so crowded with shouting gamblers and off-key bards that you can barely see the front door. The room is suddenly silenced by a wet, guttural roar that vibrates the floorboards. It comes from the well at the center of the tavern. A massive warty green hand, dripping with sewer muck, claws over the stone lip of the pit. A troll, its flesh scarred and eyes clouded with mindless hunger, heaves itself out of the darkness. It stands nearly 10 feet tall, its long arms swinging as it bellows at the terrified patrons. Following in its wake, several bat-winged needle-nosed sturges flutter up from the shaft like a cloud of oversized blood-drinking mosquitoes. The tavern erupts into a panic. Patrons scramble over tables and the staff dive for cover. Amidst the chaos, the barkeep, Durnan, doesn't flinch. He shouts a single word that cuts through the noise. Troll! And in one fluid motion, he draws a sword, a great sword, from behind the bar and leaps over the counter to confront the monster himself. As the troll rises to its full height and howls, Durnan glances at your table and barks. Come on, you lot. You deal with the Sturgis and see if you can set the troll on fire when it falls. And here, we roll for initiative. And I will also introduce our party, our adventurers, our heroes of the story, in order of their initiative. So let's see. Caelum. That's a 6. Celestine. Ooh, that's a 5. Cinna. Nat 20 with a total of +2, 22. Oh, okay. Just for the story's sake, the troll and Durnan will go first. I won't roll for their initiative, but they'll go first and then following our cast. The troll moves forward to face Durnan's charge head on. It does its multi-attack. So that is 1 bite attack and 2 with its claws. Good luck, Durnan. He's pretty sturdy. He'll be fine. Trust. Alright, this is for the bite. +7 to hit. That is a 6 + 7 is 13. It doesn't hit Durnan. Okay, now 2 claws. What is this? 19. That surely hits. Another one for the claw. That is another 6 + 7. It doesn't. Okay, so just 1 claw hit. Wow, okay. Okay. Durnan takes 1 + 5, 6 + 4, 10 points of slashing damage. Okay, not bad. He's thick. He's fine. And now we can finally introduce our party. So the first to move is Cinna, an earth genasi with olive skin like cracked stone and eyes that glow like banked embers. She steps forward first and doesn't look impressed. She's a fighter, and also everyone's starting at level 2. I'll explain later. So Durnan instructs them to focus on the Sturgis first. And even though a total of 9 Sturgis rose from the yawning portal well with the troll, Only 3 remain flying above the troll, and the rest seem to have been tired and bloated from all the blood that they got from the troll, and they just sink back down in the shaft. Alright, Cinna follows Sternan's instructions to focus on the Sturgis first. She moves to attack. She's using her scimitar and her short sword. We're doing 2-weapon fighting. Is that what it's called? First attack for the main hand of the scimitar. Nat 20? Fucking kidding me? Alright, sure. And then for the short sword, 2 plus 5. 7. It doesn't hit. The first one is a crit, though. Alright, so it's a good time, and I guess this is a good segue to introduce some of my own rules for playing. And because I am playing solo, one is that, well, we do crit as players, but if it's the enemies, if it's mobs, they don't crit on a nat 20. Let me just say that. I don't think that will affect anything that much anyway, but I saw that somewhere, I think in DM Yourself. I'll talk about my sources for this whole campaign I'm doing afterwards. So she hits 1 Sturge, and we will, so my policy for nat 20 damage is max damage on the first die and then roll the second. So for the scimitar, it's a 1d6 plus 3 slashing. So that's 6 plus 5, and a total of 11. That is overkill for a Sturge that has 2 hit points. Okay. Cinna lunges using her scimitar, you know, the one that hit. It catches the light of the hearth and just carves a perfect arc, a lethal arc, through the air, and the blade slices through the Sturge, the poor 2 HP Sturge, with a clinical force of a landslide. It basically vaporized in its own blood and the troll's blood. And she says, oh, well, past control, I guess. She's already looking for the next target to hit, calling out to Caelum, the next character in initiative, saying, can you finish the rest? I'm not spending all night on bugs. Caelum sighs. So next up, we see Caelum, a high elf whose posture is as straight as the blade he carries. He is a paladin, and he's already mapping out the most efficient way to end this before more property damage occurs. Oh, I forgot to mention Cinna's hair color. Okay, maybe that's something too specific, but I need to mention it. It's like a jet black hair with a very hot wolf cut. You'll see why it matters later. And now, back to Caelum. He's a ginger, short hair, kind of serious looking face. Very, very protective of this group, even though they just recently kind of met up. Again, more on that later, because Caelum is about to roll to attack the Sturge, I guess. I didn't know these guys only had 2 hit points. Alright. He considers using Firebolt for a moment. But, you know, hitting a flying target with it in this tavern, that it might result in a lot of collateral damage. So he just moves to use his longsword. And he will move forward to the other Sturge. For a 16 plus 4, a 20 to hit, that definitely hits. Now we do 1d8 plus 2 of slashing damage. That will be 2 plus 2, 4. And that, I don't even know why I rolled. These guys have 2 HP no matter what. Even if I rolled a 1, that's like more than their HP. Well, there is no flourish. The steel meets the shell of this weird pest with a dull thwack, splitting it clean down the middle before it even realizes what's happening, and it drops to the floor. 1 remains, he says. All right, Celestine, if you could conclude this. Well, I guess the troll is still there, but you know, at least the Sturgis. That's me talking. They'll be done. We move to Celestine, the last member of this party on the initiative list. She steps forward, and it's as if a soft light has been struck in the middle of the grime, for she is an Aasimar of ethereal race. She has long, wavy, blonde hair, and her deep, glowing purple eyes. The eyes that right now are looking regretfully at the Sturge that she's about to attack, because, well, she doesn't like conflict, but she has to do this, and they still have the troll to deal with. So she will move to cast... Ooh, these are all overkill. Oh, and she's a bard, by the way. So I think she'll just do True Strike to ensure that her attack hits. And she moves to hit with her dagger. dual wielding. So she casts True Strike on herself. One attack with a weapon used in the spell's casting. Okay, we use +6 instead of +3. Just so we ensure that it's done. 8 plus 6, 14. Does that hit the Sturge? It hits exactly. Oh, good thing I used True Strike. And if the attack deals damage, it can be radiant or the weapon's normal damage. So it does 1d4 plus 1 piercing. Should I roll? Should I roll? It's an automatic. Anyway, okay, I'll roll, fine. For bookkeeping's sake. 3 plus 1, 4. That is more than the 2 hit points of the Sturge. And it doesn't matter what damage. Let's just, for flavor, let's just make it radiant damage because she is glowing. Maybe not. She feels bad for the Sturge. And she downs it. Her dagger, guided by her magic, finds its target. And she says, I'm sorry, but you've caused quite enough trouble for one night. And with a soft dagger pierces the Sturge's body, and the creature crumples midair, falling to the floor with a thud at her feet. The 3 Sturges are down, and now the troll is all that's left. And it's Durnan's turn. Oh, let's see what you're made of, Durnan. He hasn't taken his turn, right? I forgot that I made the troll go, and then I forgot to let him have his turn. Anyway, okay. Durnan attacks the troll with his multi-attack. Durnan can make 4 melee weapon attacks. And he has a +8 to hit. The troll's AC is 15. We do 4 hits. That's a 5 plus 9. Oh wait, +8. 5 plus 8, 14. It doesn't hit. Damn, unlucky. 16 hits. 1 hit. 18 hits. Last one. 11 plus 8. 19 hits. 3 melee hits from Boss Durnan. He doesn't look worried. He looks like a man who has seen 1,000 trolls and is mostly annoyed that he has to leave the comfort of his bar top to deal with this one. Okay, let's roll damage. Oh wait, he has his average damage here. So it's 2d6 plus 4 slashing damage, but we're gonna do it. Let's take the average, it says here, which is 11, because that's too much addition. Times 4 is 44, and the target takes an extra 14 slashing. 44 plus 14, that's 58 damage. And Durnan rolls another d20. On a roll of 20, he lops one of the target's limbs. Okay, let's see. Maybe he does that. That's a 4. Okay, no, so he does, what did I say? 58 points of damage to the troll, and wow, the troll is bloodied. 54. Now, we can do it. We can do it. But yeah, Durnan swings the great sword in brutal horizontal arc. It's not elegant, but it works. And it bites into the troll's midsection, and its blood like sprays across the floor. And it stumbles backwards towards the edge of the pit, looking injured but still very much alive. Durnan nods to Cinna, who is always ready, looking like she's always ready for a fight, even when out of combat. And Durnan says, alright, now, time to hit the troll. And Cinna just kind of grins with pleasure, old man. I was just warming up on the bugs. Too bad the troll goes first though, so now it moves to attack Durnan because he's the biggest threat so far. And where's my d20? Here, okay. It moves to attack, multi-attack again, 1 with bite and 2 with claws. First one is a 6 plus 7. It doesn't hit Durnan with the 16 AC. That's the bite. And then now 2 claw attacks. What is that? 3. That won't hit. A 6. Wow. All misses? What are the odds the troll just retreats back to the pit? But I don't think they'll let it do that. Okay, so it just kind of flails around, but everyone just dodges. Or I guess Durnan specifically just dodges. Now we're back to top of the order. Cinna is a fighter. She is a very straightforward role in the party and rotation. Very straightforward rotation. She uses her scimitar and her short sword again. First attack. Not 1. No. Okay. Next. A 4. Oh no. That's embarrassing. What happens to her? Iconic. The first nat 20 of the game from Cinna. The first nat 1 of the game also from Cinna. I think that is so apt. Like very, very on brand for her. So I think she steps in her eyes confident, with a stony confidence. She's already picturing how she's gonna kill this troll, and she lunges to prepare to strike. But as she plants her foot to swing, it finds that the blood of the sturge, the what remains of the sturge, and her foot slides out from under her, and she slips. This momentum carries her forward, and she trips. So that's what happens for her nat 1. She kind of stumbles, and she is more hurt by the embarrassment, I feel like. She tries to recover, but that is her turn. Her face flushed. I don't know how Earth Genasi's blush, but that's what's happening right now. She wishes she could just be absorbed. She wants to dive into the yawning portal because of embarrassment. Don't say a word. Right, now it's Caelum's turn. Caelum moves, doesn't make fun of her, that's not him, just focuses on the task at hand, and casts Firebolt on the troll. Oh shoot, I forgot that it regenerates 10. Okay, I'll recount that on the next turn. Now that it's not a flying target anymore, Caelum casts Firebolt on the troll. That's a 10 plus 4, 14 doesn't hit. And you know what? I forgot to use my bardic inspiration during Celestine's turn. Okay, I'm new, okay? This is the first time I'm actually seriously playing. Forgive me, I'll remember it. The Firebolt misses. What does he do now? Can he use guidance for the attack on himself? No, okay. Okay, it's fine. But instead of hitting the troll, he hits the wall, I guess. Welp. So much for trying to avoid collateral damage. He pulls his hand back, his face a mask of annoyance, and he doesn't look at Cinna. But I don't think Cinna's in a position to laugh right now, seeing as they both missed. Caelum just turns to Celestine. He says, please try to be the exception. Please don't miss. And makes room for her and just makes sure that she has her space. And Celestine moves forward. Or maybe actually moves back a little bit, seeing the chaos of it all. Or, maybe she's feeling brave and she's gonna cast Chill Touch, and that is +6. Oh, that's a wrong die. That's a D10. Or a D12, sorry. That's a 6 plus 6, 12. It doesn't hit. Whoops! Wow. What is happening? Durnan, save us. But now that I remember, she's just gonna give Bardic Inspiration to Cinna. The Bardic Inspiration is 1d6 to Cinna. Okay, later. So what happens is she reaches out, because Chill Touch is a touch spell. She tries to touch maybe the troll's leg or something close to her. But as she moves in, the troll slams its foot down to kind of regain its balance after the impact of Durnan's hit previously. But her hand sort of like passes through empty air as the troll is moving, and her spell just dissipates harmlessly. And she stumbles back. She realizes that right now she can just try to help and cast Bardic Inspiration to Cinna, saying, Cinna, don't let that floor slime get to you. You're the strongest person in this room, including that troll. And your next swing, I'm sure, will take its head off. And then Cinna kind of goes like, yeah, okay. Thank you. Sure. I'll slice its head off. And now it's Boss Durnan's turn. Please, Durnan, save us from our misses. Durnan does the multi-attack again for melee weapon attacks. A 7 plus 8 is a 15, right? Yep, that hits. First one hits. 11 hits plus 11 plus 8 hits, yep. 12 plus 8 hits. Last one, 8 plus 8 hits. All of them hit. 11 average damage slashing times 4 is a 44, and then we'll roll another d20. If we hit a 20, we'll take one limb off. Durnan will take one limb off the troll. That's a 19. Ooh. Okay, so it's a 44 plus another 14 slashing damage, so another 54. Now, it should die, actually, but because it regenerates, and I forgot to add its 10 HP at the start of the next turn, its second turn. So let me just do some bookkeeping here. Oh, I've been saying 54. I meant 58. So Durnan has done like 58 58 damage, but I think I think in the previous turn he missed once. But you know what? Whatever. It's still the same, even if he missed like one instance of 11 points of damage. So I guess Durnan senses that the troll is close to being defeated, and he looks like a man finishing just a long day of chores, and he stabs it with his great sword, catching the troll square in its like maybe neck. And there's the hero sickening crunch of bone. And then it falls, it topples, but it's the troll's turn next, and everyone sees its wounds like sort of trying to stitch itself back together, and the troll tries to push itself up from the floor. Then Cinna kinda narrows her eyes and looking even more annoyed, if that's possible. Is this thing ever gonna stay down? Hey Durnan, you missed a spot. And Durnan sort of bellows from the other side of the tavern because they're on like other side of the troll. It's no use just cutting the damn thing. Use fire or acid and burn the wounds, or we'll never be finished with this. And upon hearing this, it's now Cinna's turn. She moves to attack. She's a fighter. She doesn't have anything like acid or fire, but she has her blades, and if she can keep it to 0, she will. She moves to attack with her scimitar. That's a 2. That misses. What is up? Another fucking nat 1. Wait, she has Bardic. But it doesn't matter. It's not enough. My Bardic is just a d6, so... Okay. Poor Cinna. I think she's still reeling from the embarrassment of her previous failure, and she sort of overcompensates. She tries to attack again with her short sword, and her foot catches on a table that's just thrown about because of the current situation. And she doesn't just slip this time, she actually trips. She face plants into the grime of the yawning portal, nearly impaling herself on her own blade. But no, the embarrassment is enough of emotional damage for her. And her scimitar and her short sword kind of clatters away, sliding. And she talks to the floor. She's face down in the dirt and goes like, I fucking hate this tavern. I hate this troll. I hate everything. And Durnan sees this and is like, the floor's still holding up better than you are, Genasi. And Caelum kind of closes his eyes, sort of thinking like, why is this happening to us? Honestly, same, bro. Why is this happening? Poor girl. I thought she's doing so well with her first nat 20, first of the game, but she also hit 2 nat 1s in a row. Oh no. Next, Caelum, you're up. And we have Firebolt this time. Right, Caelum, your time to shine. Caelum casts another Firebolt. For 13 plus 4, that finally hits. Thank you, Caelum. And it is 1d10 fire damage. What's the d10 again? Which one's the d10? I think it's this one. Okay. 9 fire damage. And the troll is now in back to 1 hit point and is currently on fire. So Caelum, from his fingertips, casts the firebolt, and it hits where Durnan's blade previously injured the troll, sort of singeing it, preventing it from stitching itself, and preventing the troll from healing and regenerating. They can hear the sickening sizzle and smell the burnt skin and hair. And the troll lets out a shriek. Okay, Caelum looks at Celestine, goes, right, 1 final hit. You can end this and we can rest for the night. And Celestine sort of is pressured. What if she misses like the previous turn? Okay, so I kind of didn't want to use a spell slot because, dude, it's just 1 HP. Ooh, should I just use the dagger? What if she misses again? Because I'm thinking of using Thunderwave, so at least that's a sure, because the troll has -1 to wisdom. Sorry if that seems metagamey. It can't be fully avoided in the solo gameplay. You know what? Sure, let's just cast a Thunderwave. Oh, it's a con saving throw and it has +5. No. Celestine will just cast true strike on herself again, so she gets a +6, and then uses her daggers. That's a 17 hits. Ooh, good job, baby girl. 1d4 plus 1 piercing. That is a 2 plus 1 is 3. How does she, with her dagger, how does she end the troll, I wonder? So I think she just watches the troll still struggling because, it was trying to heal itself, and she kind of centers herself. She focuses, and she says mostly to herself, okay, let's finish this cleanly. And she moves, very precise in her movements, just trying to end a long, violent argument. And she drives the dagger home to the troll's neck. It's not very deep, because, it's just a dagger. But thanks to Caelum's firebolt, it prevents the troll from further regenerating, and she finishes the job. A final gurgling breath escapes the troll's lungs, and finally, it doesn't heal, it's just a corpse. And Celestine sort of exhales. Oh, thank goodness, it's over. And she just pulls the dagger out of the troll, looking at it with a grimace, and tries to look for something to clean her blade. And Cinna, finally sitting up from her faceplant, goes oh, nice poke. About time someone in this party remembered which end of the knife goes where. And Caelum sheaths his sword. Okay, that was a less than ideal situation, but a successful battle in the end. And then he looks at the troll like it offended him. The dust and smoke from the fight begin to settle, and the troll is just a silent, charred mountain of meat in the center of the room. Cinna stands up, wiping a smudge of the floor grime from her cheek. She looks at Durnan, kinda smirking. Goes, all right, boss, I've got Sturge spit in my hair and troll guts on my boots. And I'm pretty sure I just ate a splinter of your floorboard. She gestures at the carnage and the chaos. I think we at least deserve some free drinks. And I'm not talking about the watered down stuff you give the tourists. Durnan kind of chuckles. You've got a hell of a lot of nerve, girl. Most people pay me for the entertainment. But you did keep the beast from eating the cook. Clean yourselves up. Next round's on the house, but don't make me regret it. And everyone, the whole tavern, the staff, Durnan, the group, sort of just settles back. The troll's just there. Maybe they'll get it cleaned up overnight. Who knows? But that doesn't stop the people's need for food and drinks, of course. And as they settle back in, Celestine sort of tries to help the staff as well, put things in order. She feels bad that they caused such a mess. And once the tables are all arranged, the seats are back, and the trio is sitting down on a table, Volo finally appears. The friend is, I guess, maybe acquaintance. Their acquaintance that they encountered in one of their previous adventures, who asked for their help and is the main reason why they are here, because they're gonna meet him. And Volo approaches, colorful silks swishing with every step. He's beaming at them and kind of has his hands out, ready to talk with his hands. My stalwarts, my paragons of patience. I knew you were the right choice for a little consultation, but I didn't expect you to provide a live demonstration of your services before we'd even had our first toast. And Sin kind of groans and says, Listen, Volo, you said meet at the portal to discuss a job. You didn't say anything about staying alive through a localized pestilence. Caelum picks up his mug, then eyeing some troll blood stains on the table with disgust. Indeed, our help as you requested it was intended to be a professional meeting, not an unpaid internship in monster culling. You're lucky the tavern is still standing. Then Celestine at this point walks back after helping the staff rearrange the furniture. She smooths her hair, she smooths her clothes, her voice still soft. Don't mind them, Master Volo, they're just a little frazzled. We were waiting right here where you told us to. It's just that something decided to come out of the yawning portal, the well, I guess. Then Volo pulls up a chair, looking slightly unbothered by the carnage. Lively, my dear. It was theatrical. The way you channeled that flame, Caelum. The unconventional groundwork of Cinna. The final poetic sting of Celestine's blade. Then he leans in closer, voice dropping. But to the matter at hand. As I mentioned in my correspondence, I am in dire need of those specific talents you just broadly displayed. You see, my friend, Floon Blagmar, has gone missing, snatched from these very streets. I have the gold, and more importantly, I have the leads. If you agree to track him down, with all due haste, I can offer you 10 dragons apiece now, and I can give you each 10 times that when you find Floon. Will you help me, my dear friends? The strongest adventurers I know. Caelum sort of narrows his eyes and looks at Volo, looks at the way his fingers sort of twitch in his velvet sleeves, trying to see if there's any other motive for this. So he'll do an insight check. That is a 6 on the die, and Caelum has exactly +4 on insight, so passes the DC 10. But Volo reaches into his pockets of his bright blue surcoat and pulls 3 small silk pouches and slides them towards the trio. With a flourish, a gesture of my sincerity, 10 gold dragons for each of you, simply for lending your ears and hopefully your blades to my plight. And Cinna grabs it. 10 up front. Well, that's a start, but don't think 10 gold is gonna scrub the smell of this floor out of my clothes, Volo. And Caelum sort of doesn't touch this pouch immediately. He's just still trying to read Volo, searching for a crack, and tells him, "You are desperate, Master Volo. Your concern for this Floon is genuine, I can see. You are anxious, but you're promising us a king's ransom, yet you're paying us in pocket change and flattery. Are we to be paid in gold or in the exposure your next book might provide?" And Volo is flustered, sort of smoothing his mustache. Well, a minor liquidity delay. The royalties for Volo's Guide to Monsters are tied up in a most tedious clerical dispute at the print shop. And my current project, Volo's Guide to Spirits and Specters, is proving to be a complex vintage to bottle. He leans in, sort of pleads. "Trust me, my dear friends, I swear upon my reputation. Return Floon Blagmar to me alive, and I shall have 100 gold dragons ready for each of you. Every copper. I promise." And Celestine, her eyes full of empathy. "Floon Blagmar? That's a lovely name. What does he look like, Volo, so we know what to look out for?" Then Volo kind of cheers up again because he assumes that they have already taken his job because of this question. Goes, "A handsome fellow, early 30s, with the most marvelous wavy red blonde hair you've ever seen. He was dressed in princely garb, silks, embroidery, the works. We were, celebrating, drinking and merrymaking at the Skewered Dragon 2 nights ago. It's a bit of a dark body establishment in the dock ward." Cinna snorts. "A darkened body, so it's a dive bar. Great." And then Caelum finally picks up the gold pouch. "The dock ward. Very well. We shall start looking for this Floon." Then Celestine reassures Volo. "We'll find him, Volo. Don't worry." Cinna stands up, cracking her neck. "All right, drinks are done. Let's go find your fancy friend before he gets his silks ruined." So the trio of Caelum, Celestine, and Cinna head out of the yawning portal. Their destination is not that far. It takes them maybe like 20 minutes of walking. But the dockward is a maze of narrow alleys and leaning tenements. And as they round a corner, the usual bustle of the city is replaced by a grim scene. A cordon of city watch guards stands over a dozen bodies sprawled on the cobblestone. The area is stained with fresh blood, and the air is thick with the scent of ozone and copper. I think Caelum wants to try to see what's going on. He's going to roll a perception check. That is a 12. Perception plus 4 is a 16. I think that's perceptive enough for him to see that the bodies have the tattoos of the snake tattoos of the Zentarum, usually of the Zentarum agents, and he can surmise that this is a clash between the Sanathar Guild and the Zentarum. So he takes note of that, but one of the officers sees them sort of lingering or slowing down in their walk to kind of look at the scene. And she says, "Move along, nothing to see here." There's about a bunch of probably a dozen guards of the City Watch present in this scene, with the 3 bandits being arrested. And, well, they leave the City Watch to their job. So as they pass by Zastro Street and before turning around the corner, they see a shop that stands out from the rows of rundown buildings because of this stuffed beholder hanging in its window. And it also has a deep purple facade. There's a sign that says in elaborate swirling letters, "Old Shablob Shop." And this is the first time that I will be using a character emulator called Triple O's to see if any of the characters would like to check out the shop. So if you're not familiar with what a character emulator is, it's still just up to the dice. But specifically for Triple O's, the one I'm using right now, and I think it is also the simplest, I'm gonna roll a d6. So that's why it's Triple O's. We have the obvious thing that they will do. We have another option, and then the last one, if you roll a 1, is the odd one that they are least likely to do, like a wild card. And you roll a dice to see what happens. So I'm gonna do the Triple O's for my trio. Okay, so for Cinna, she notices the skewered dragon, and she knows enough about low places, so to speak, to know that this is unusual. So the obvious for her would be to go in, and the second option is to continue to the skewered dragon. 1, and that is to scope the back alleys. Okay, it doesn't mean they'll do it, but that's what they want to do right now. Let's do the one for caelum. Obvious is, I think he just has a goal in mind, and that is to go to the skewered dragon. The option would be to go in, because I think maybe he'll see the stuffed beholder and be familiar with the beholder. That is a 4. So, yep. Caelum is intrigued enough by this old Shablob shop, and Celestine, let's see, obvious would be to go to the skewered dragon as well, because there is a person in danger and she wants to find out as much as possible as soon as possible. But the option is also to go in. That is a 6. She wants to go straight to the skewered dragon. All right. So that's kind of 2 against 1. I mean, Cinna wanted to do the odd, let's scope like the back alley for a secondary entrance to the shop, but that's kind of still like going in the shop. And then Caelum decides he wants to go inside. So the group will go inside. As they enter, they think that this shop, is quite strange, a bit eccentric, if so. A cloud of lavender-scented purple smoke trails out of the shop's door. Every wall is painted purple, and every dusty knick-knack on the shelves is dyed a deep violet. There's a hairless old gnome sitting cross-legged on the counter, wearing plum-colored robes. His cheeks are decorated with 9 purple face-painted eyes. The gnome lowers a pipe and exhales a cloud of lavender smoke before raising a hand. "Hail and well met. Come browse the shelves of the most curious curiosity shop in the world." I think Celestine steps forward and takes initiative to ask if what's his name? Shablob, I guess he's Shablob, has seen anything about the kidnapping and the situation. "Hello, Mr. Shablob. A friend of ours, a man named Floon, was taken from this area 2 nights ago. He's a good soul, and he's vanished into the shadow of this gang war. I'm sure you see everything that happens in this corner. Did you see anything?" Okay, let us roll persuasion. 15 plus Celestine's persuasion is +8, 23. She has expertise. Well, that is great success. He sort of thinks for a moment and leans in closer. "I saw your handsome friend 2 nights ago, right outside these very windows. He wasn't alone, had a well-dressed fellow with him. Similar look, similar stride. High coin types, both of them. They were jumped right there on the cobbles by a pack of 5 or so rough-looking swords in black leather armor. I didn't recognize the faces, but one of the attackers, he had a mark on his neck, a black tattoo of a winged snake, Zentarum mark. If you're going to that tavern, watch your backs. The winged snakes are fighting the eye tyrants, and good souls like your friends usually get crushed in the middle of that kind of squeeze. And then Celestine says, "Oh, thank you so much. You've been very helpful. These men... You know what? Never mind. Thank you." And she sort of just starts walking outside because she heard another man was taken, so 2 people were kidnapped. So she just thanks Shablob and just heads out, and the 2 follow. And as Cinna heads out, she eyes the stuffed beholder. I think she would like to make a perception. I think, is it nat 20? I don't know what to give her for that. It's just that she's thinking, if the attackers were Zentarum, why is this beholder, which is what Sanathar is known to be, why is this Sanathar associated shopkeeper being so talkative? She's a little suspicious, and she expresses this to the group. Something doesn't seem right. If that man works for Sanathar, he's likely sending us to a Zentarum ambush. Be ready for anything. And just an alleyway further, they find their destination, the Skewered Dragon. The building looks like a ruin. Both of its front-facing windows are smashed, and the ship's anchor is lodged directly into the roof. Through the broken windows, a group of haggard dock workers drinking from huge tankards can be seen in the dim light. Cinna walks confidently to the center of the room, trying to assess the people, profiling them, and leans over the table of the largest and the loudest dock worker. "You've had a long shift, friend. Would be a shame for it to get even longer. We're looking for Floon Blagmar. Redhead fella, looks like he doesn't belong here. Who was he with and where did they take him? Give me the right answer and I might stay in a good mood." And she rolls intimidation. That is a 13 plus 2, total of 15, which is a success. Okay, so the dock worker says, All right, look. Volo was in here 2 nights ago with that fella that you just said you described. Volo headed out early, but Floon stayed behind to drink and play cards with Renair Neverember, the old Open Lord's son. Stuck-up brat, if you ask me. 2 of them stumbled out around midnight, but they weren't alone. 5 men followed them right out the door. None of them have shown their faces back here since. Word is, that lot hangs around a warehouse on Candle Lane. Can't miss it. There's a snake symbol marked on the door. And before Cinna says anything, caelum sort of steps in and says, 5 men against a Neverember and a friend. Those aren't the kind of odds people walk away from. Thank you for your cooperation. You've been helpful, truly. Caelum glances at Cinna, the snake on Candle Lane. Let's move before the trail goes cold again, and starts leading the group outside to go outside the Skewered Dragon. The walk to Candle Lane is a grim reminder of why locals avoid the docks after dark. The street lamps here are few and far between. Most have been smashed or simply run out of oil. You pass the leaning tenements that seem to groan under their own weight, their upper stories blocking out what little moonlight remains. And as you turn onto Candle Lane, the silence is heavy. This isn't the vibrant Waterdeep you saw from the panoramic heights. This is a place of rot and secrets. You find yourselves navigating around deep puddles that reflect the dim, sickly yellow light of a lone, flickering lantern at the far end of the alley. Finally, you see it. Tucked between a crumbling fishmonger and a boarded-up chandlery stands the warehouse. It's a 2-story timber and stone building, its windows blacked out with grime and wooden slats. And here, there, painted crudely in black pigment on the center of the heavy double doors, is the mark. A winged snake. As you scout the perimeter of the building, you identify a couple of ways you might gain entry. There is the front door, the main entrance, directly under the Zentarum symbol. You notice that it features a sliding peephole, which looks like it can be operated from the inside. There is a large loading door further along the wall. This heavy door looks like it's used for moving bulky crates and equipment. And there's also a painted over window. It's a small grimy window covered in a thick layer of paint, maybe offering a more discreet if cramped point of entry. Thing is, each of these entry points are locked, and none of our characters have thieves' tools. So we're going to have to force open whatever entry point they choose either way. Before they try to attempt anything, Celestine would like to give Cinna a bardic inspiration. How many of those have I used? There's the second one, I think. You know what? Let's also give Caelum one. There, I'm out of bardics to give. So they get a 1d6 each if they need it. Okay, so Caelum, he instructs the group. Cinna, use the window. I'll force the front door open. Celestine, stay behind me. Don't let anything slip past into the shadows. Alright, positions everyone. On my mark. 3, 2, 1. We have to roll athletics. Let's go. Good luck, everyone. You have Bardic. First, we have Caelum rolling for athletics. He has a +2. That is a 15 plus 2 is a 17. And for Cinna, +5 on athletics. That's a 9. It's a 14. What do they need? She might use the Bardic. Hang on. Oh, it's not bad. They only needed a 10. Okay, they haven't used the Bardic yet. Right, so both Cinna and Caelum successfully open their respective points of entry. For Cinna, the window. For Caelum, the front door. And then Celestine's following behind. They make a loud entrance, not stealthy by any means. They see tables and chairs have been carelessly tossed across the floor. The corpses of a dozen men lie along the walls, their rapiers and daggers lying nearby. And on the north side of this main area, there are stairs that rise to an open level above. You see 4 short avian creatures with long beaks and black feathers look over in surprise from where they stand in the middle of the warehouse. Each wears a hooded cloak and wields a short sword. They were lazily searching the pockets of the dead, but as you appear from 2 sides at once, they freeze in total shock. One drops a blood-stained coin purse, which hits the floor with a heavy clink. They emit a series of frantic mimicked sounds, the screech of a hawk and the clatter of falling metal, as they realize that they are trapped. Roll initiative. Okay, Caelum, initiative. 13 plus 0. Okay, Caelum, 13. Celestine, 17 plus 2, 19. Okay, Cinna, 5 plus 2, 7. Okay, Cinna, Celestine, Caelum, and then for the 4 Kenkus, they'll have the same initiative. And that's 7. Okay, they'll go after Cinna. Kenku, 7. Okay. Second fight of the first episode. Let's go. And because Celestine is highest in initiative, she goes first, sort of steps around Caelum, sees a group of 4 Kenkus, and moves to cast Thunderstrike. Sorry, I meant Thunder Wave. So each creature in 15-foot cube from you does a Constitution saving throw. Okay. Each creature. If they fail, they get 2d8 thunder damage. Right. The 4 Kenkus will roll Constitution saving throw. I'll do that now. So they add a +0, so I'll just get the number. That's an 18, 1 saved. Wait, what am I comparing it to? My spell save DC? Oh, 14? Okay, so 1 saved. 14 exactly. No way. I'm gonna be so annoyed if they all save from Thunder Wave. 4, thank goodness. 1 doesn't save. And 10. 2 take half, and 2 take the full 2d8 thunder damage. Where's my d8? Where's my d8? That is 6 plus 5, 11. 11 thunder damage for 2. And then for 2, it's 5, right? 5. We round down. So as Celestine thrusts her palms forward, a shimmering wave of force erupts from her. A very loud one, an invisible hammer of sound that slams into the 4 Kenku. The thunderous boom echoes off the warehouse, rattling the crates and what have you, even the dead bodies here. Some of them are also thrown around. The Kenkus are tossed backwards like rag dolls. And next up is Caelum. yeah, I think he charges right after seeing the initial attack of Celestine and just hits them with his longsword. I thought of using spells, but hey, these guys, they're not that tanky, so he's just gonna use his longsword. And I didn't read this earlier, but his longsword has sap, so if you hit a creature with a longsword, that creature has disadvantage on its next attack roll before the start of your next turn. So I forgot that. I have to make like a table or something that's easy for me to keep track of these things for battles. Such is the struggle of playing 3 characters. So he moves to attack the one with more health, or I guess the one with less health. He's gonna try to down one. So won't he attack, like, won't he be in range? I wonder. Oh, whatever. Okay, maybe like the Thunderwave sort of scattered them a bit because it's kind of like a cone, right? When they were pushed out. So he adds +4, that's a 13, a 17 hits. He does 1d8 plus 2 slashing damage. D8, 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 D8. That's a 7 plus 2, 9 slashing. 1 Kenku is down. And he takes, can he do the divine smite? What does that do? What does that do? Divine smite, target takes an extra. Oh no, I can't change target. Okay, anyway, he just kind of just faces the rest of them. So 3 of them. And now it is Cinna's turn. Cinna, very, very straightforward play style. She hits one with a scimitar and tries to hit another with a short sword. She tries to hit so her scimitar is in her main hand and the short sword is in the, what do you call that? The other one? The second hand. She's gonna try to use the main hand on the one with more health. So the one that only took half damage. She rolls to hit. That is a 11 plus 5, a 16 hits the scimitar. I'm gonna roll the damage for that one first. 1d6 plus 3 slashing. 3 plus 3 is 6. So that one still has 2 hit points. And then she uses her non-dominant, what is it? The secondary weapon to hit the one with less hit points. That is a 12 plus 5, 17 hits. It's just gonna be the dice, right? No plus 3. I think that's the secondary. So 1d6. Please just be a 2. Just be a 2. 4 minus 4. And they're out. Now it's the Kenku's turn. But the conditions here, the Kenku fight until 2 of them are incapacitated or killed. So I think Celestine will try to convince them somehow. Or I think maybe intimidate. Caelum will try to intimidate. He says to the 2 remaining Kenkus, your friends aren't getting up. You 2 still have a choice. You can talk to us or you can join them. We know about the snake on the door. Now tell us where they took the prisoners. And what does he roll? That's a 17 on the die. What's his intimidation? Caelum. Intimidation plus 2. 19. That passes. The Kenku survivors sort of exchange a terrified look. One of them begins to bob its head rhythmically. It starts regurgitating a series of voices. You know, like how Kenkus do. They mimic voices. The sounds are jarringly different and echoes through the warehouse like a broken radio. First thing they say, Xanathar sends its regards. Then, tie up the pretty boy in the back room. Hurry, no time to loot the place. Just get him to the boss. Follow the yellow signs in the sewers. Tie up the pretty boy in the back room. In all different voices because they are mimicking. The Kenku collapse in a series of whimpers. Cinna processes the information quickly. The pretty boy in the back. If he's armed or if he's not who we're looking for, I'm coming back to pluck the rest of those feathers. She glances towards the back room that they were talking about. And Xanathar, tell your boss that he's making a lot of noise for someone who likes to hide in the muck. Caelum, I don't want these crows flying back to the nest to warn their friends. Bind them tight and we'll leave them for the city watch to find. And Caelum does that because he agrees. And Celestine kind of starts walking towards the back door. Okay, well, at least it seems like he's still alive, hopefully. They try to open the back door. I mean the door of the back room. So the door of the back room hangs crooked. One hinge already snapped and the other kind of screeching as you push through. Then the stench, it's not rot, but it's like nose-burning sourness of vinegar mixed with the funk of rotting fish. There are discarded ropes in the corners of the room, some canvas tarpaulins are piled high against the walls, splintered wood litter the floor. It's a very, very messy room. And then a sound of ragged, wet breathing can be heard coming from underneath one of the tarps at the far north end. Celestine calls out slowly, "Hello?" And before she even finishes her one-word sentence, "I can hear your boots. If you're with the Zents who put me in that warehouse, know that I am unarmed and have nothing left to take." And Celestine clarifies, "Oh, we're actually here looking for Floon. Volo sent us because he was missing. We took care of the scents outside, so you don't have to worry about that. We tied 2 of them up for the city watch. Are you Mr. Floon? You can come out. It should be fine." He lifts the tarp slowly, and a man emerges. Sleek red hair matted with grime, fine shirt torn at the collar, wrists bearing angry red rope burns. And he stands with what dignity he can amidst the rancid pickled herring stench clinging to his clothes. He says, I thank you. I'm Renair Neverember. Floon, they took him. He was too drunk to find his own way home, so I walked with him. And then there were 5 of them in Fillet Lane. They were looking for me. But Floon was wearing a ring that I gave him, and in the dark they thought he was the noble. And I slipped my bonds while they dragged him away. But I heard them saying they needed the stone to find the dragon. And Celestine kind of clarifies, "So they were trying to kidnap you, and not Floon. Why? Well, I guess you are the son of the Lord, but..." And then Renair cuts her off. "The Zentarim, they think my father embezzled a large amount of gold while he was open lord and hid it somewhere in the city. They believe I know where it is, but my father and I haven't spoken in years. I know nothing of his secrets." And I think Celestine just sort of looks at him for a few seconds. So that's an insight check. That's a 12 plus 5, a 17. So she believes that he genuinely doesn't know shit about the treasure they're talking about. But he mentioned a stone, so she'll ask him about that. But you mentioned a stone. Do you know where this stone could be? It was with the Sanathar guild, but someone snatched it away apparently, and the Zents thought I was involved, says Renair. They call it the Stone of Golor. And at this point, I think they would have walked out of the tiny room he was held in, or he was hiding in, and they're back in the main room where the Kenku are being tied up by Caelum, and Caelum sees this. They catch up. Cinna is trying to look around, trying to loot stuff. Let's get a perception check. That is a 17 plus 1, an 18 on the perception check, and that passes the DC 15. I guess she's trying to just check out the whole place, and as she moves to a section of the north wall, she notices something weird about the wall, maybe a discoloration, and she presses her palms where the plaster meets the floorboards. The stone here is a different color, and it sounds hollow when she knocks. And she finds a seam disguised as a mortar line, but the grit is painted on. It's a pivot hinge, and she managed to press the loose brick 3 inches left of the water stain, and the wall opens outwards. It's a door balanced on a central spindle, heavy as a tomb slab. It swings wide, and beyond it is a closet barely 4 feet deep. It's choked with the smell of saltpeter and old wax. The tiny sound of a bell can be heard from a room upstairs, but as far as they know, they cleared the area already. And you find some paintings, 4 of them, as well as some silver bars. And she calls out to the others, "Hey, I found something. Come help me with this." And Caelum kind of joins her because he's done tying up the Kenkus, but Renair and Celestine are still talking. And Renair tells Celestine, "I owe you my life, but I fear Floon is paying the price for my name. The Zentarim, they are obsessed with my father's legacy. They believe Dugald embezzled 500,000 gold dragons during his time as Open Lord and hid them somewhere in Waterdeep. And they think this Stone of Galore is the key to finding it. I'm coming with you. I won't have Floon's death added to my father's list of sins. And, Celestine says, oh, okay, well, I'm sure we'd benefit from having one more sword in the group. And, she walks over to where the two are in the room, looting stuff, like a cinna mostly, and she's dividing the spoils. Oh, you found something. Oh, wow. Paintings. Oh, I can get the paintings. I can't carry the silver bars. I'm not very strong. I'll roll up the paintings though, so they're easy to carry. And you two you guys are way stronger than me. You can carry that. And Cinna goes like, gee, thanks for taking care of the 4 paintings. Don't worry, we'll handle all these silver bars that feel like they weigh 10 pounds each. And then Caelum goes like, Cinna, if she carries any of the silver bars, she'll pull a muscle. Hey, Celestine says, well, you're not wrong. And as they're doing this, dividing shit between them, maybe, I don't know if they'll try to burden Renaer with it. I don't think so. I mean, he's a noble. And Celestine like tells them, Lord Neverember here wants to join us in the search for Floon. He's his friend, apparently. And Renaer says, oh, please, just call me Renaer. And Caelum says, we'll take all the help we can get, Lord Neverember, as long as you're good with the sword. You can check the Kenkus outside. I'm sure they have weapons that you can use. And Renaer says, yes, right, weapons. And again, please, just Renaer. Shortly after, Renaer picks up some weapons from the remains of the bodies out there in the main area. The relative silence of the warehouse is shattered by the sound of heavy boots thundering against the cobblestones outside. The heavy doors burst open once more, and a dozen City Watch veterans, their green and goldenrod doublets stark against the dim interior, swarm the room with a sharp clanking of steel armor. They move with practiced efficiency, attempting to prevent anyone from leaving, while taking the surviving Kenku into custody. Leading the force is a stern, sharp-eyed man in a tall steel helmet who surveys the dozen corpses before fixing the group with a cold, piercing gaze. Drop your weapons and keep your hands where I can see them, he barks. I'm Captain Eustace Daggett. Give me one good reason why I shouldn't hold a lot of you to the Grand Citadel right now. And as his eyes scan this group, he recognizes Renaer Neverember. And Renaer, seeing this recognition, takes initiative to explain to him what happened and catches him up. After he hears the story of what happened in this place, he'll address the group. Since you're in the company of a Neverember, I'm prepared to overlook your presence at this particular bloodbath, provided you didn't start it. But Waterdeep is a city of laws. Read this. It's the Code Legal. Learn it or you'll find yourself doing hard labor in the Undercliff Farms before the 10 days is out. And he hands the group a folded sheet of parchment that bears the Code Legal. And seeing as he's not addressing the main issue here, Caelum steps forward and says, a man has been kidnapped, and he's being held down in the sewers by the Xanathar Guild. We plan on pursuing these kidnappers and rescuing Floon, the man who was kidnapped. Perhaps you could send some of your men to help us. It is a Waterdavian citizen, after all, that we are rescuing. And Staggett makes it clear that he will not send his men into the muck. He says, I'm not sending a force into the sewers in search of someone who might well be a Zent or a Xanathar Guild spy. Cinna kinda mutters under her breath. Guess it's too much to expect help from the City Watch. Guess we'll do this all alone. At least the young lord has more initiative than them. And seeing as the group is determined to pursue the attackers, he is trying to get them to clear out the area while saying, best not to meddle in criminal matters. Leave this dirty business to the City Watch. And as they reach the front door, he says, but if you want to play heroes and you're gonna be stubborn about it, just make sure you keep the blood off the streets, alright? And we find our adventuring party with one additional member now of Renaer Neverember outside of this house in Candle Lane. Celestine says, oh, I'm not sure if you heard it, but the Kenku, they said something about the sewers, and following the yellow marks. Would you know anything about this, Lord Renair? Renair? And Renair says, the sewers, huh? There are a couple of entrances to the sewers near this area. We could try our luck and see if there are any yellow signs around. And the group will make an investigation check, just to see how many sewers they check for the yellow sign that the Kenku said. That's a 12. Won't be enough. Maybe Caelum can help. They're all looking anyway. Let's roll with advantage because they're all working together. I think that's fair. That's a 15. Meets it. Plus 2 of intelligence of Celestine. 17. Okay, so they find the yellow signs on these specific sewer manhole covers. Sort of like how you have hidden code or like a secret code only for those within the guild to know. And they head down the sewers to find Floon. The surface world of Waterdeep, with its salt breezes and street lamps, feels a lifetime away. Here, the air is a physical weight, thick with the stench of ancient rot and the humid, sulphurous breath of the city's bowels. Every footstep in the black sludge sends ripples through a putrid stream that has never seen the sun. You are deep in the veins of the dockward, following a trail of breadcrumbs that was left behind. Caelum is tracing his finger along a yellow chalk circle on the wall. This mark, he says, it's the stylization of the beholder, Xanathar. We are on the right track. After an hour of wading through the gloom, the tunnel opens into a junction. A rusted iron ladder clings to a stone shaft leading upward toward a manhole cover, but your attention is snagged by something hovering in the center of the path. A grapefruit-sized sphere of bumpy, olive-green flesh. A singular bulging central eye swivels toward you, and 4 stumpy eye stalks twitch like the legs of an upturned insect. It sees you approach, and bares its teeth at you. Now, I've decided on a new rule for this playthrough of mine, which is to save time, not roll initiative strictly, but since it's just one gazer, I'll do it. But usually I would just, I read this somewhere, I'll just have the characters go first and roll initiative for their order, or whatever makes sense, and then the enemies go first. I think it will save a lot of time in the long run, but just for now. Okay, so we got some low rolls across the board. Cinna's going first with a 21 for her initiative, and then Renair, this discrepancy is so big, with a 6, the Gazer with a 5, Celestine with a 4, and Caelum with a 3. Okay, that's such a big difference. Let's start. So Cinna, upon seeing the Gazer bare its teeth, immediately rushes in to attack with her scimitar and her short swords for the 2-weapon strike. What is the AC of this Gazer? First attack. That is a 5 plus 5, 10. It doesn't hit the AC of 13. Offhand attack. That's an 8. Oh, that's exactly 13. 8 plus 5, 13. Yes. So she manages to hit with her short sword. So that doesn't include the plus 1d6. 1d6. That's a 4. 4 damage. Piercing damage. The Gazer is stabbed by Cinna's short sword as she lunges forward to initiate the combat. Next up is Lord Renair Neverember, our newest temporary member who we just rescued. So he can do a multi-attack because he is a swashbuckler. He can make 3 attacks, 1 with a dagger and 2 with a rapier. All right, so we roll 3 d20s. The first one is, oh god, what is up with these rolls? 4 plus, what does he add to that? Dagger, plus 6. 10, it doesn't hit. Next is a nat 1. Come on. Is it the sewers? Is it the smell? I'm gonna guess it's the smell. But he's a harper. He should be used to this. I guess he's still a noble at heart. That is a 15 for the third one, which is the rapier. Plus 6, 21 finally hits. All right. We're finally rolling damage. 1 out of his 3 attacks finally hit. D8. 1d8 plus 4. That is an 8 plus 4, 12. And let me tell you, the total HP of this Gazer is 13. Cinna knocked it down by 4. And Renair finishes it off with its rapier. Hey, he didn't need all 3 of his attacks, apparently. The eye goes dull as Renaer's blade pierces. Or is it piercing? The rapier is piercing, yes. It pierces its iris. It twitches once and falls into the murky sludge with a sickening splat. It didn't even get to attack. Cinna wipes a glob of slime off her forearm, her face twisted in a scowl of disgust. She kicks the corpse of the gazer deeper into the sewer water, saying, "Gross." And Renaer says, as he is cleaning his sword, "I don't think I've ever seen someone punch a floating eyeball that hard." And seeing as the battle is resolved quickly, Caelum, scanning the tunnel ahead, says, "We need to move before the smell of its blood attracts something with even more eyes. Let's go." Then Celestine, as they're continuing with walking through the sludge, "I hope Floon is alright. If they have monsters like that guarding the hallways, I don't want to think about what's waiting in the main room." And Cinna will take this moment to cast Pass Without Trace, which is an ability, her only spell, quote-unquote spell, from being an Earth Genasi. So everyone has a +10 to stealth for an hour. She sees the gazer, worried that it may have alerted, as it is an eye, someone might have detected that they are approaching. So she's just taking precautions. As they continue to move, Renaer says, "The hideout should be just past the next junction. The yellow eyes, just keep following it." Then Caelum nods, "Lead the way, but keep your head down. I'd rather not have to explain to your father why you got eaten by a stray Greg because you're being brave." And Renaer replies with a dry, tired smile, "Trust me, Caelum. My father is the last person I want to have a conversation with today. Let's just get Floon and get out." And they move deeper into the tunnels. The tunnel eventually widens into a massive circular hub, the ceiling arched and dripping with lime deposits. The water here is a foot deep, cold and thick with unidentifiable debris, and directly across the chamber, 2 narrow arrow slits are carved into the stone, staring like hollow eyes. To the west, a stone ledge rises out of the muck, holding a heavy door. The chamber's eerily lit by the flickering, sourceless glow of possibly flame spells, casting long dancing shadows against the slime-slicked walls. And Celestine says, "Shh, listen." Beneath the steady drip of water, a rhythmic wheezing sound drifts through the arrow slits. It's the sound of deep, congested snoring, and Cinna whispers, "In the watchposts. Looks like the Senator Guild doesn't hire for work ethic." Caelum, gesturing for the group to stay low. "Let's be careful not to wake them up. We're sitting ducks here." And Renaer steps onto the stone ledge slowly and says, "Step where the moss is thickest. It muffles the splash." And everyone will make a stealth check. A group stealth check. Okay. I think we just take the midpoint. Caelum will do this with disadvantage, though, because he is wearing heavy armor. So let's do his first. And they will all get +10 to their stealth checks because of the Pass Without Trace. Caelum, first roll is an 8. Can't be lower than that. 16. Okay, he takes the 8. +10 is 18. Plus his stealth is +0. Okay, so 18 is what we have so far. Renaer goes next. That is a 14 + 10, 24. So you got an 18, a 24, +4, 28. Cinna, what is that? That's a 3 + 10, 13 + her 2, 15. 15. Okay, Celestine. That's a 6 on the die. +10, 16. +3, 19. The midpoint, I would say, is 18, which passes the DC. So you slip through the stone door onto the western ledge, leaving the hub behind. The sound of snoring fades, but you hear just a distant thud of what is in the next few rooms ahead. You enter a room that smells of wet wool and rusted iron. It looks like a cloakroom of sorts, littered with threadbare tunics and discarded scimitars. It leads into a cramped sleeping area where 6 tattered, straw-stuffed mattresses lie in heaps. And I'm gonna roll a perception check for the group. Whoever, that's a 5. Can everyone do it? Does that mean we'll do a 4? And we'll take the best one. I think 17 should do it. I won't even add modifiers, but I just set that at a 10. But with modifiers, I'm sure that will pass. And a sound of conversation can be heard from the room up ahead. And Renair sort of says, "Wait, I hear voices. They're arguing in the next room." And I think Cinna will go to try to check out sneakily what's there and sort of peer around the corner. And with a stealth check of 12 plus 10, 22 plus 2, 24, because Pass Without Trace is still active, she looks around the corner and sees the next barracks is a mirror of the last, but it is occupied. She sees a Dwergar with skin like cold ash, frantically shoving a heavy wooden bunk against a northern door, and beside him stands a man, Krentz. They recognize from the yawning portal was the bandit, they assumed, who got into a brawl that they didn't really involve themselves in, but he fled when the troll attacked. Cinna realized this to the group and asks Celestine, "Would you be so kind and create some sort of fog over at that area? I feel like we can make this really, really quick if we catch them off guard." And Celestine agrees. She says, "Oh, a fog cloud? Sure, I can do that. Make it quick and make it silent. We don't want to wake the goblins in the previous room." "All right, whenever you're ready." And she looks at Caelum and Renair as well. They nod to her. She takes a deep breath, casts Fog Cloud. She has it as a cantrip. She casts Fog Cloud over to where those two are, distracted by something behind that door that they're trying to barricade. And so once they see the fog appearing around them, they are caught off guard. And our party will rush in. And let's just do the initiative order according to what makes sense story-wise. Renair rushes in first, being the one with the highest dexterity among them all, and assesses that the Dwergar is a bigger threat between the two, and so moves to use his multi-attack. So 1 attack with a dagger and 2 with a rapier. The Dwergar has an AC of 16, wearing scale mail and a shield, but they are in the fog. For the dagger, that is a 5. That's not gonna hit. 5 plus 6, nope. Next is a 2, no, plus 6, not gonna hit. That is a 15 plus 6, 21. Once again, Renair hitting on the 3rd attack with a rapier, dealing 1d8 plus 4 damage. That's a 4 on the die, so 1d8, 4, 8 total damage to the Dwergar. Okay. Cinna attacks right after Renair and hits with her scimitar first. For 14 plus 5, 19, that hits. And for the second, that is a 17 plus 5. Both of them hit. So 1 scimitar, 1 short sword. 1d6 of plus 3 of slashing. That's a 3 plus 3, 6 slashing damage. And 5 piercing damage. 6 plus 5, 11. So between Renair and Cinna, 19 points of damage has been dealt to the Dwergar. And then, Caelum, will he attack the Dwergar or the human bandit that they recognize as Krentz from the yawning portal, I wonder? I think he sees, well, he doesn't see because it's foggy, but he feels that the target that both Cinna and Renair hit or attacked is still standing, and deduces that, damn, this one is thick. This is a tankier one. And so, hearing the commotion, moves to attack the same target, Dwergar, with his longsword. That is a 9 plus 4, 13. It doesn't hit. He misses. The fog is too much and it's getting a bit crowded. And so now that everyone except Celestine is in the fog cloud, they will start rolling with disadvantage in their attack rolls. And it is, who's the higher dex? Krentz will go. Krentz is surprised by the fog and the sounds he's hearing, as he has not been hit yet. So he'll try to swing blindly. That is a 9 on the die. That is a 3. We'll take the 3 because it is disadvantage. 3 plus 3, 6. That doesn't hit any of them. And he tries to move away. He doesn't really have any abilities to clear this fog cloud. He is a mere bandit stat block. So he's going to try to move away from the fog cloud and makes it just to the edge of the circle of the fog cloud and closer to Celestine, but still in the fog, so she cannot see him entirely yet. Now the Dwergar goes. This one, oh boy. He has a lot of options. He's gonna try to swing blindly with his war pick, so he'll make, what is that? Oh shit, it fell. Okay, let's re-roll that. That was a 1, but it fell, so let's just do it again. An 11 and a 15, so we'll take the 11. And 15 just hits Cinna with the damage 6. And he turns invisible. But it doesn't really matter, they're in the fog cloud. And he tries to move as well, but reaches just the edge. He is slower, he's quite slower than Krentz. So he makes it right before Krentz. And now it's Celestine's turn. I think that since they have gotten the jump on them, and they have done their initial damage, she's going to break concentration on the fog cloud and clear it up. And as it is clearing up, she can see only Krentz, because the Duergar, they don't know the name of this Duergar. I don't know if they'll ever know if he survives this battle. Unlikely. So, she only sees Krentz. And, she casts True Strike on herself and closes the distance between her and Krentz. Slashes with her dagger. What is that? That is an 18 plus 3, 21. That hits Krentz. We roll 1d4 plus 1 piercing. 1d4. Oh no, she's just d4. Okay. That is a 4 plus 1 piercing and. Oh, and just for flavor, let's just do radiant damage. I could have used my charisma, but just plain plus 3 hits anyway, so the plus 6 is it's fine. The True Strike was still used for the radiant damage, so that is 5 radiant damage. And now it's Renair's turn. He notices that there's only one target, and it doesn't seem like this was the guy that they hit. He's gonna make an investigation check. He rolls a 13 plus his, is it intelligent? Yeah, 15. I think that's enough to kind of see this guy that they hit twice, him and Cinna. Caelum missed, sorry Caelum. He was hit by blades and he has to be bleeding, and they notice some sort of drops of blood that stops at a certain point, and he rushes to that area before the target manages to escape. Does his multi-attack again. First one with his dagger. That's a 9. Plus 6, 15. Doesn't hit. Now with his rapier. 11 plus 6, 17 hits. And the second one from the rapier. It's stuck again. I'm gonna re-roll whenever it gets stuck inside my dice tower. And it fell on the floor. Let's count that. 14 plus 6, 20 hits. For a total of 4 plus 4, 1d8 plus 4, so 8, and then another 1d8 plus 4, 5, 9. 9 plus 8, 17! Seeing a trail of blood stop at a certain point, he focuses on this tile that he can imagine his target was at, and just lays it out. Dagger misses, maybe because he was hitting a bit higher. This guy's a Duergar, a dwarf, and shorter than he expected, so with his rapier, he slashes from bottom upwards. Finally hits, and then does it again, but the opposite direction, from upwards to the lower left, and both hit. The Duergar managed to hit them once, and now collapses, invisibility losing its effect, and they see Krentz. Upon seeing this, is kind of shocked. He's backing away toward a corner, and he has a gash across his chest from where Celestine hit him. He continues backing away, drops his weapon, hands a bit shaking, goes up slowly. Whoa, wait, he says. Stop, I'm just a muscle, alright? Not dying for a couple of dragons. Then Renair kind of says coldly, where's Floon? And Krentz nods towards the back door. He's just babbling. The boss, through there. The F-orc. He's interrogating him. And the other one, the one with the robe. Just let me go. I'll walk. I'll forget this happened. And Caelum says in a low voice, you will leave this place, but if I see your face in Waterdeep again, the city watch will be the least of your concerns. And Krentz doesn't need to be told twice. He scrambles toward the exit, tripping over a stool in his haste to get as far away from Cinna's glare as possible. Then as they watch him retreat, Cinna says, you're too soft, Caelum. He's just gonna go join another gang. And Celestine just interjects, let's go, we have a friend to rescue. Sounds like we still have another battle ahead of us. And Caelum leads the way and says, I'll take point. Everyone, get ready. Okay, so their marching order is going to be Caelum, I'll go with Cinna, Renaer, and then Celestine. Okay, before they start walking, Celestine approaches Cinna and sees a wound that the Dwargar hit her and says, I know it's not much, but here, I hope this helps a little. And casts her healing hands, which is her race ability, and it's not much. It's just 2 hit points, but hey, she's down 16, and maybe, sometimes a hit point makes a difference, so she tries to help. Because she doesn't want to use just another spell slot just yet. And so onwards you go. You step into this long hall, and the first thing that hits you is the lighting. It's that eerie, flickering, continual flame casting these long, jagged shadows against threadbare curtains on the far wall. And right in the center of the room, you see this absolute brute of a half-orc in these filthy, dingy robes. Dingy? Yes, dingy robes is what I meant. He's got his boot pressed firmly into the chest of a man with his wavy red blonde hair, who is clearly your guy, Floon Blagmar. And you see fire literally dancing around the orc's clenched fist as he looks down at his victim, who is crying and squirming helplessly. But then your eyes travel to the back of the room, to this raised stone platform, and that's where the real nightmare is. There's a figure in black robes, rubbery purple skin, and 4 tentacles just writhing around its inhuman mouth. And it's sitting there in a carved stone chair, almost tenderly caressing what looks like a literal, disembodied brain with feet. It looks up at you with those huge, white, vacant eyes, and the temperature in the room feels like it drops 10 degrees. And this time, we will roll initiative. At least for the monsters. The characters will go, consecutively, if that makes sense. I also saw this one thing where monsters will go at 11, minions at 1, and then lair actions at 20. I might just incorporate that eventually to save time, but for now, we'll roll for the monsters. Okay, so we have the Mind Flayer that we know as Nihilur, but the characters don't. Whoa. That is a 19 on the die. Plus 1, 20. He goes first. Unless some of the other mobs hit higher than that. Okay, Grimshar plus 0 to deck. That is a 17. Grimshar is second so far. And then we have our brain, the intellect devourer. That is a 15. Also, plus 2, 17. I think I'll take the average for the characters. So Renaer, plus 4 to dex. What is that? That is 5, plus 4 is 9. Cinna. Ooh, 19. So plus 2, Cinna 21. Cinna goes first so far. But she has the highest modifier here, so I think she is actually going first. You know what? We'll stick with the initiative, sure. I'm writing it down anyway. Caelum with a plus 0. A 13 to Caelum. And lastly, Celestine with a plus 2. 8 plus 2, 10. She goes second to the last. Renaer goes last. Okay. So Cinna, we start with you. She has a very straightforward kit, and she will rush forward to the closest target that she sees, which is Grimshar, the half-orc wizard. He's a wizard, AC is not that high. She moves to hit with her scimitar. That is a 7 plus, I'm sure that hits, plus 5, 11 hits. And with her offhand of a short sword, that is another 7 plus 5, both hit. And so we roll 1d6. That is 5 plus 1d6 plus 3, 8 slashing and 3 piercing. So Cinna charges in with her scimitar high up in the air, slashes this half-orc wizard, and then before he realizes what's happening, she slashes across with her left hand using her dagger once more, and Grimshar only has 9 HP, but he has relentless endurance, so it's a 0. When reduced to 0 hit points, Grimshar drops to 1 hit point instead. He can only do this once per long rest, and he uses this right now, and so they would have to attack again later to completely down him. Up next, we have the Mind Flayer Nihilur, and upon seeing a whole group of adventurers coming up to the main hall or main room where they are interrogating Floon, Nihilur simply rises from its chair, sets the little brain down, and glides across the room toward the western double doors to escape. And he has a movement of 30 feet And I'm just using the map on the Waterdeep Dragon Heist book. 1, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. And he uses a dash action to make it to the portal. And just like that, he vanishes, enters this doorway to who knows where. I know where, but the characters don't. And up next is Grimshar with 1 hit point left. He is a spellcaster. And he will cast... He will cast Burning Hands. A thin sheet of flame shoots forth from you. Each creature in a 15-foot cone makes a dexterity saving throw, taking 3d6 fire damage on a failed save, or half as much on a successful one. Okay, so 15-foot cone. Does it catch caelum in the... I don't think it catches anyone in the group except for Cinna. So Cinna will make a dexterity saving throw. What am I using for that? It's a 5. So what stat of Grimshar will that be? Intelligence? Okay, so his intelligence save is +2. What does that mean? So I think that means 12 because 10 plus 2 for his modifier for int. I could be wrong, but that makes sense. Anyway, Cinna rolled a 5 and her dexterity save is a +2, which is a 7. It doesn't pass. And she will take 3d6 fire damage. Holy shitballs. Okay, first, that is a 6. Another 6. And a 4 for a total of 6, 12 plus 4. 16 damage. That would have downed her if Celestine didn't use her 2 HP to heal her. Wow. This isn't looking good for Cinna as the Mind Flayer... Oh, sorry, no. The Intellect Devourer is going next. And I think it will just attack the closest target there is, which is Cinna. And it will try to devour Cinna's intellect. And she will have to make a DC 12 saving throw, intelligence saving throw. One creature the Intellect Devourer can see within 5 feet. So it approaches Cinna so that it is just... they're pretty close, I think, from where Nihilur left the Mind Flayer. And upon failure... Okay, let's do the intelligence saving throw first. Cinna is looking bad. 12. Intelligence. -1. 11. Damn! Ooh, she has a bardic. Oh, no. Celestine didn't give out bardics. She fails. And Cinna goes down. Celestine, way in the back of the group, sees this and panics. She thought the little healing that she did would have saved Cinna from the first attack, but the Intellect Devourer is ruthless. Right, up next, Caelum. I'm sure he could do something. The Intellect Devourer hits Cinna for 11 damage, which brings her to -8. Okay. Caelum, upon seeing his friend and his teammate go down, rushes forward, charges towards the Intellect Devourer, seeing as this poses a bigger threat than the half-orc wizard. He moves to cast. Bonus action, Lay on Hands to Cinna, so he is right beside the Intellect Devourer and Cinna, and he will heal Cinna for... should I use the whole 10? No, let's just do 5. For 5 HP. Lay on Hands. That works, right? Okay, Cinna's back up to 5 points, barely breathing, and Caelum moves to strike this little brain with his longsword. That is an 18 plus 4, 22 hits. And he will also Divine Smite, but first 1d8 plus 2. That is 2 plus 2, 4 slashing, and Divine Smite is extra 2d8. So 4 slashing, plus 7... plus 8. 4 plus 7 plus 8. Let me do the maths. So that is a total of 19 damage to this Intellect Devourer, all on Caelum's turn. Seeing his teammate go down just made him so mad. What can this little brain do? It looks so squishable, you know? And he just slices through this Intellect Devourer. And before I forget, because last combat, I keep forgetting, his longsword has sap. If you hit a creature with a longsword, that creature has disadvantage on its next attack roll before the start of your next turn. So the Intellect Devourer will have disadvantage if it even reaches its turn. Let's see. Alright, who's next? Celestine goes next. As much as she wants to heal Cinna, she's back up by a little amount of HP from Caelum, so she thinks she'd rather get rid of all the threats first. So she casts True Strike on herself to better her chances of hitting the Intellect Devourer, which she saw. She's very annoyed at this little brain thing for hitting her friend. She will attack with her daggers. That is a 15 plus 6 hits. Next one offhand. That is a 19 plus 6. They both hit. Man, this brain made them mad. Okay, so 1d4 plus 1. Where's my d4? I keep losing the d4. Where is it? Oh, here. Okay. That is a 4 plus 1, 5, and then just the die number plus 1. So 6 damage. And as she hits this little brain with her daggers, she apologizes to Floon because Floon is only at 1 HP and she says, "Oh, I'll heal you later. I'm sorry, but I wanted to get rid of the threats first." And up next is Renair. Please finish this off, Renair, with your multi-attack. Let's see. Renair rushes in to where the action is, in the middle of the room. Throws one look at Floon and says, "Floon, are you alright?" And Floon just says, "I've been better." And Renair focuses on the Mind Flayer that everyone seems to have been attacking. Oh, sorry, I meant Intellect Devourer. Oh, I keep mixing the two. And he rolls for his dagger attack, which is an 18, and that hits. We'll roll damage on that first. That will be 6 damage. I'm just using the average now because he has 3 attacks. It's going to take a while. So that fully downs the Intellect Devourer. It is no more. He moves to the almost forgotten half-orc wizard Grimshar. Maybe he's a little offended because they don't see him as a big threat compared to this little brain. But now Renair refocuses on him. Hits with his second attack using his rapier. That is an 11 plus 6, 17. I'm sure that hits. And for a second one, just for funsies, 12 plus 6, that will hit. This guy is only at 1 HP. Should we roll? I don't think so. They down him. Renair, seemingly always being the one to deal the final blow, just stares at these 2 dead creatures in front of them. Seeing as the threat is neutralized, caelum moves quickly to Floon and casts Lay on Hands for the remaining 5 HP on his pool, and that brings him back up. And Floon is just so relieved, can't even speak, breathing heavily, gets up slowly and hugs him, thanking him for the healing, and thanking the group for saving him. Cinna, still feeling that coldness of her downed state, she's breathing heavily. Celestine approaches her, hands trying to steady her shoulders, says, "Are you alright? I'm glad caelum got to you fast." Cinna says, "Yep, all good here. And we found the pretty boy, so, yeah. All's well that ends well." And Floon, still kinda hugging caelum, said, "I'm alive. I thought they were going to eat my mind. Renair, you're here. They kept asking about dragons in a stone. I thought they wanted you. Please, we have to get out of here. Is it gone? Is that nightmare figure gone?" And Renair says, "It fled, Floon, through some foul magic in the back room. But it won't be back for us tonight. Not while we are here, not while these 3 are here. And, my friends, you have my word. Your help will not be forgotten. We shouldn't linger. The watch may be slow to enter the sewers, but they might be swarming the warehouse above soon enough." And Cinna goes, still very, very much injured. Wait, there might be some valuable stuff here. And she just goes to loot the place. Celestine kind of helps her. And they take the valuables here, which are not much. They get 2 potions of healing and Grimshar's spellbook, but they don't have a wizard. Maybe they can sell this. No one in this team has any use for it, but who knows when we might need it, or when maybe eventually we'll add a wizard to the team, who knows. And then as Celestine does a quick sweep of the room, she says, "Oh, Cinna, I found some coins here. I'm just gonna go grab them." And they get 16 gold, 82 silver, and 250 copper. Oh no, can she carry that? I'm sure she can carry that. I'll write that down. And while they are quickly sweeping the room, Renair sees this, as well as caelum. They both see in the room next door where the Mind Flayer fled that in the middle of this otherwise empty room is a stone pillar carved with a small symbol, a perfect circle with 10 equidistant spokes radiating outward from its circumference. And in the middle of this circle is a smaller circular indentation that bears a passing resemblance to a lidless eye. And caelum says, "A one-way portal. Okay, well, we might have to retrace our steps, unless there's another way out of here." And as Cinna is exploring the other rooms, not really exploring, but more like giving it a once over, she will make a perception check. Celestine arrives and asks her, "What is it?" She said, "It's nothing. Nothing's here. I thought there was something." But Celestine will also make a perception check. They need it. They need it. Come on. That is an 18. Wisdom. I think her wisdom's fine. Perception. Her perception's plus 3, 21. Yep. They see rough-hewn tunnel hidden beneath a loose flagstone, and they assume that this is their way out of this sewer. Celestine calls out to the group, "Everyone, we might have found a way out of here. Let's go. Let's hurry before that mind flayer or something worse comes back for us." And above the table, I just realized I forgot again to use Celestine's bardic inspiration on her turn. I have to kind of make that into like a muscle memory. Oh well, next time. The heavy flagstone scrapes against the stone floor as you heave it upward. Caelum, with the help of Renaer, just sort of pushes and lifts this large flagstone from within the cellar and opens it. You emerge from the literal bowels of the city into a place that smells surprisingly good. It's the scent of honest work. Fermentation, malt, grain. You've left the putrid muck of the sewers behind for a cellar filled with brewing supplies and clutter. But as you pull yourself up, you hear the sharp gasp of a small person and the clatter of a wooden spoon hitting the floor. And this halfling exclaims, "By the gods, who are you? Where did you come from? Is that a hole in our floor?" And Renaer kind of steps forward, seeing as he is the local here, the Waterdevian of the group. He steps forward slowly to make room for everyone who's still coming out of the passage, and raises his hands slowly and non-threateningly, and says slightly to the group, "We were underneath the residence in the dockward," and addresses the homeowners, presumably. "We are friends of the City Watch. We've just closed a very unpleasant door in your basement." And the halflings are initially terrified, but sort of recognizes Renaer's noble bearing and the group's exhausted and pitiful state. And their fear turns to frantic hospitality. "Well, we are the Peabodys," the halfling introduces themselves. Renaer says, "Right, of course, you're known for your ales. We are sorry for the mess that we have caused, but we mean you no harm." And Mr. Peabody says, "Oh, I believe you, but we've lived here for years and never knew. Brewing beer is a quiet life. We don't want any part of whatever is happening down in those tunnels." And now they see the whole group kind of stepping into the cellar, and Celestine steps forward. "We just rescued Mr. Floon from the sewers. He is the friend of Lord Neverember over here." And the halflings look at the ruined clothes of Floon and his exhausted state and says, "Oh, the poor man. You look like you've been through the 9 hells. Here, take some water or a bit of the early batch." And Caelum addresses the group as well as the halflings. "We'll just catch our breaths, but we don't intend to stay long. What do you plan to do with the entrance to the sewers?" And Mr. Peabody says, "Well, we're going to seal this up as soon as you're gone. We can't have those things crawling up into our home." And the Peabodys guide you through their small, cozy home. And when you are ready, out onto the cobblestones of Fish Gut Alley. The group says their goodbyes, expresses their thanks, and the cool night air of Waterdeep has never smelled so sweet. We have Floon, and somewhere in the yawning portal, Volo is waiting, with our reward, hopefully. You trudge along the dockward towards the yawning portal, not in a hurry anymore, for you have already rescued Floon, and everyone is tired and exhausted. There is no need to hurry tonight. And as you arrive to the facade of the yawning portal, you push through the heavy doors, and the transition is almost jarring. You've got the putrid damp chill of the sewer still clinging to your clothes, and suddenly you're hit by this wall of warmth, the scent of roasting meat and the boisterous, chaotic roar of a tavern in full swing. It's very, very late in the night now. And there, sitting at a table by himself, clutching a tankard with white-knuckled intensity, is Volothamp Gidarm. He looks like a man who hasn't breathed in 3 hours, but then his eyes lock onto you, They travel from Caelum's dented plate armor to Cinna, still a bit pale but standing, to Celestine, and finally to the wavy red blonde hair of the man walking between you. Volo literally knocks his chair over as he springs up. He doesn't even care about the grime or the sewer stench. He just throws his arms around Floon with his sob of pure and unadulterated relief. He says, "Floon, by the gods, Floon! I feared the darkness of the city had swallowed you whole. My friends, my bold, incomparable friends, you have done it. I knew it when I saw that fire in your eyes at this very table, that you were the ones." And Floon, still leaning heavily on Caelum, still looking a bit shaky, but he manages a weak smile as he pats Volo's shoulder, and he says, "Volo, easy, man. You're getting your fancy vest all damp. These three, they stare down a nightmare for me. I've seen enough tentacles to last a lifetime, Volo. I just want to sit by a fire that isn't being thrown by a half-orc." And Renaer steps forward, his voice articulated and graceful, even through the exhaustion. "He speaks the truth, Volo. Cinna, Caelum, and Celestine waded through the very worst of the Sanathar's rot to pull us out. They have my eternal gratitude, and the gratitude of House Neverember. But I believe there was a matter of a promise made." And at this point, as Renaer says this, Volo's face goes slightly pale, and he gives you all a very sheepish, fluttering look as he reaches into his robes. "Ah, yes, the matter of the dragons. My friends, I must confess, the life of a celebrity chronicler is one of fluctuating fortunes. I find that at this precise moment I have but few coins to spare. But never let it be said that Volo breaks a promise." And as he says this, Volo reaches into a hidden pocket of his flamboyant doublet and pulls out a slender, leather-bound scroll tube. He holds it out with a kind of theatrical gravity you'd expect if he were handing you the crown of an empire. He says, "Allow me to present something much more valuable than a few sacks of gold. This is the deed to a remarkable property right here in Waterdeep. It's a historic building in the North Ward, Trollskull Manor. I bought it recently for my upcoming book on spirits and specters, as it's rumored to be quite spirited. But after what you've faced tonight, I think a few ghosts will find you much more intimidating than you find them." And Celestine, unrolling the deed, she takes the deed and unrolls it, her eyes widening. "You're giving us a house? A whole tavern?" And Renaer sort of looks over her shoulder to see the deed, and then he looks to the group, nodding with genuine respect. "Trollskull Alley? That is a fine neighborhood. A manor of your own in the City of Splendors is a reward most adventurers only dream of. Don't worry about the logistics. I will ensure the transfer tax of 25 dragons is handled. It's the least I can do for my friend's life." And then Celestine says, "Oh, you don't have to, Lord Neverember." And he says, "Think of it as a gift. A welcome to the city, if you will. Also, I'll help you settle in. I know some people in the guilds who can help with the repairs. You've earned a home in this city." And Caelum also interjects, "Trollskull Manor. The property value alone far exceeds the gold he promised." And Volo, beaming, his confidence returning. "Precisely. You aren't just mercenaries anymore. You are property owners, Waterdavian entrepreneurs." Cinna says, taking the key and tossing it in the air, "A tavern, huh? Does it come with a beer, or do you have to fight a mind flayer for that too? You know, I went into that sewer expecting to come out with enough gold for a new whetstone and maybe a decent pair of boots. Now you're telling me I'm a landlord? Volo, if this is a prank, I will throw you into that pit myself." And Caelum is sort of reading the fine print of the deed and looks up at Renaer. His usual stiff posture softens just a fraction into genuine respect. He says, "Lord Neverember, your offer to cover the transfer tax is deeply appreciated. A base of operations within the city walls changes everything." And Celestine says, "A home in Waterdeep. Master Volo, that's beautiful. To turn a night of such darkness into a place where we can stay for an indefinite amount of time. Thank you. Though I hope the neighbors don't mind the smell of sewer water. We're going to need several very long baths before we move in." Renaer chuckles at that, saying, "The neighbors in the North Ward are a colorful lot. They've seen worse than a few dirty heroes." And so, as the high sun of the following day hits the spires of the castle ward, You find yourself standing in a sterile, marble-floored courthouse. Magistrate Kylan Silmerhelv, a tiefling woman who looks like she has exactly zero patience for anything that isn't a legal precedent, watches with a bored sigh as the seals are pressed into the wax. With a sharp clack of her gavel, it's official. The dampness of the sewers is a memory, and the ringing of steel being drawn to defend what is right has earned you a home. You are no longer just travelers. You are property owners in Waterdeep. And that's where we'll end our first episode of Alonesy. That is exactly the first chapter of Waterdeep Dragon Heist, A Friend in Need. So the story part will end here, but I will finish up the rest of let's cap it at 2 hours for this episode, with explaining some of the backstory and maybe the other stuff that wasn't mentioned, just so that we can get a bit of a background here without making a whole other separate or lore primer, for at least for what I intended. So I am uploading simultaneously along with the first episode, the session 0. So I did talk about my ideas and my inspirations over there, and it was just 30 minutes. But just to clarify, this group has been adventuring for maybe a little less than a year. They awoke with muddled memories, very hazy, foggy memories in a weird, unknown ship, at least to them. But everything seems so weird and familiar at the same time. They didn't lose their sense of identity, so they know who they are, they know what they are and what they can do. But in terms of where they came from, that is the foggy part. So if ever in future episodes I will mention it, they call this ship the Farbus just because it is the designation that they see kind of like, printed on the walls of it, and it's basically a riff-off on the TARDIS. And for now, it can't do much in its current state, but that's just my plot device in case I want to use these characters in another plane or in another universe, like Eberron. But for now, it is cloaking or using its chameleon circuit, and it's disguised as a silo outside of Waterdeep. So it can only travel to the big 3 cities on the Sword Coast, and it disguises itself as a silo. So outside Baldur's Gate, outside Waterdeep, and outside Neverwinter, and the trio still have to travel on foot or by other means on land whenever they want to go to specific places. My whole gimmick for this is that it runs on stories, and that is why they are doing quests and missions and stuff like that. I don't know how to properly do an exposition for this in the story though, but we'll figure it out. Again, this is my first time playing like more than an hour of D&D and not just watching it, not just consuming content of it. So hopefully it was passable or decent at least. And I promise to improve and to, as I spend more time on this, I will get more familiar with the mechanics and all that. And it's fun. It's fun to tell a story using these characters. And I think this first quest is definitely a bit more linear. I look forward to maximizing the use of the character emulator that I am using right now, the Triple O's. Yes, it is going to be a bit more work because I have 3 characters and I might need to use those for all of them at some point. But hey, that's the fun of it. And that's how it becomes unpredictable as the one who's doing the GMing and doing the parts for the players as well. It's like I know the plot points as the GM, but the way to make it more unpredictable is just to leave it up to the character emulators for the players. And yeah, I hope I didn't forget anything. Be nice. I am just documenting this for posterity's sake, since I don't want to keep like a whole journal log. I know a lot of people do blog style of like recaps of their solo gaming, of their solo TTRPGs. I can't do that, so I think just an audio log would be nice. And hey, it's free to share on some platforms, so let's take advantage of that. And it's also going to be fun if ever I keep doing this for months or even years, who knows. Hopefully I will probably look back in this episode and cringe, and well, hopefully I will look back in this episode and cringe, because that means that I would have gotten better in the future. So hopefully that happens. All right, thank you so much for listening if you made it this far, and I'll see you in the next one. Alonesy.